Hi there and welcome. This is Velin Hawkins and I'm your host you're in the zone, the BIZ Info Zone. And today I've got another just fabulous, exciting guest for you. And you know what's wonderful about this is we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that's list building, marketing. But the biggest piece is, how do you get that list stuff to work to drop dollars in your bank account? And my expert today is going to tell us some of the strategies that she uses and teaches to help others do just that. So once again, welcome to the BIZ Info Zone. You are in the zone where you, the savvy social entrepreneur, gets to plan your purpose, express your purpose, plan your next moves, take that inspired action, implement, and take your business into more profits. And more profits means more money, and you can do more good in the world. So let me just tell you a little bit about my guest today. It's Patty Farmer. Patty is an award-winning, she's a great woman, but she's an award-winning marketing and social media strategist, international speaker, radio host, and a best-selling author. She's a passionate community builder and has created a network over 100,000 plus connections, has helped hundreds of speakers, authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs to build an online and offline community of influencers, creating profitable joint ventures, and build a large and responsive email list using a non-competitive and dynamic collaboration strategy, which she's going to tell us some about today. She is CEO of Patty Farmer International, and she works with her clients to develop new revenue streams, attract more of their ideal clients, and design the lifestyle that they want to live. Patty provides a definitive system and a level of accountability that ensures her clients' success. She truly is a brilliant business trendsetter. She utilizes strategic vision to redefine and reshape and remake stagnant or struggling businesses into thriving, prosperous entities. And I just have to say, welcome, Patty. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. I've been really looking forward to being in the zone.
All right. Well, Patty, I'm hearing an echo, and I just want to make sure that it's not on my end, which it doesn't appear to be. But if I could just ask you to check your open browser windows and see if maybe you have the Google Plus page open and the video is running, because it does sound like a slight delay, which means that it might be that.
Is that better?
Okay, well, let's just see. I still hear a little bit of it, but we're going to roll. So once again, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Fabulous, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm fabulously excited that you're here. So listen, Patty, tell our audience, how did you get on this journey of, moving through business and business development and strategy development to the place where you're supporting so many amazing entrepreneurs with building business in such a powerful way?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it actually happened really about 8 years ago. I lived in Las Vegas almost my whole entire life, and I had 2 brick and mortar businesses there. But I lived there again almost my whole entire life. Then 8 years ago, my husband came home one day and said, "We're moving to Dallas." And I was like, oh. So I sold my businesses and we moved to Dallas. And I remember the first day when my husband went to work and I was sitting there waiting for all my furniture to show up. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh my goodness, here I am in Dallas, Texas. I don't know anybody, right? What in the world am I going to do? I mean, this was and I was, to be honest, and I was kind of having a little bit of a pity party for myself. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? Here I am. And here's where I had the biggest aha I've ever had in my business, which was this. that it was really an opportunity, because what was in Las Vegas? Oh yes, I'd been there forever. But in Dallas, Texas, were people. And we're in the people business. We're not in the B2B business. We're not in the B2C business. We're in the people business. And here I was given this great opportunity to move to a metroplex that was full of people that I didn't know. So in that moment, I stood up, I put my big girl panties on, I walked over to the refrigerator, I wrote on the refrigerator 100,000. And my husband came home and he said, "What's this?" And I said, "I made the decision today." And we all know it starts with that decision. And I said, "I am going to, in 1 year, I'm going to connect to 100,000 people, and I am going to make $100,000. And my husband's like, "Oh, that's great." I actually did it in 9 months. It didn't even take me the whole year. However, it was making that decision and then realizing that I am in the people business, and to just get out there and meet people and be a social entrepreneur. And that's really what did it for me.
Beautiful. I love that story. And I often talk about how that one decision can change everything. And, you know, many people would think that it was the decision of moving that actually got things started for you. And it was, but truly the decision for that 100,000, that's what resonated. That's what brought you into your heart and your heart into your business. I love that. And, you know, we're talking about leveraging your list. We're talking about taking that heart decision and moving into a space where you're leveraging your list. Well, you're in a new location. And how do you leverage a list that you don't have? And I know a lot of people are saying, you know, I've been doing this for a while and I still have a small list. How do you start with no list or a small list and get to 100,000? Is there, just give us a couple of ways that you did that.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing that we need to remember is it all starts with the first step. Like, you make the decision and you start with the first step. And one of the things that Brendan Burchard said once that has really, really stayed with me and resonated with me, which is never forget to honor the value and worth of one. You know, a lot of times people were out there, we're thinking, oh, we need this big list, like it's a number. We think we need all these people. We go to an event and we want to know how many people are going to be there. You should never forget the value of one. If it's the right person, one person, that's all it really takes is one person. So I think that a lot of times we get caught up in numbers, and it really isn't the size of your list. It's not the size of how many followers you have. It's not the size of your community. It's really how engaged are they? Like, do they love you? Think of Apple. I mean, people go out in line all night long to buy the next Apple product. They don't even know what it is. But they have raving fans, not just fans, but raving fans. So that's the thing you want to know, is you want to make sure that you serve, not sell. Now, we all know that we're all in sales business, right? We are. But it's really important to make sure that we always do it with service. So one of the things that I always like to say is your list is your bank account. But if you build it on service and relationships, it'll be your retirement account. So I think it's really, really important to just know that. So if that's the first thing you do, is just realize the power of that. And then you back that up with some tools, which I will give you, and some strategies. That's all you really need to do, because it's all people. That's all you need to do. So I think that we can get hung up on, oh my gosh, I don't have this, I don't have that. You have every single thing you need. And that is one mouth and two ears. And there's a reason why we have two ears and one mouth, because we should be listening more than we talk. But that's all you really need. That's all you really need. So you can get hung up on it, but you're just going to build it by being engaged. And of course, there's always some things that we can do, and we can talk about those too.
That's beautiful. The whole concept around one is, even when you're talking to a room, you're still really engaged with one thing, one thought, one idea, one conversation. You're in one conversation. And that's so key what you said about the value of one. I really appreciate that. And so what's one other strategy that is a real key like this. I think this was like so eye-opening for so many.
I think that the most important thing, that if they don't take anything away from this call, would be this: change the questions that you ask. Because that's the thing. We only have so much time to talk to somebody. We need to make sure that we're asking quality questions. If you ask quality questions, you'll have a quality conversation. And I have 3 questions, and I have to, it doesn't matter if I'm in a room of 5, 50, or 5,000. All I want to do is get those 3 questions and come out with 5 people who have the right answers for me. That's all I want. And I'll share the questions. You ready?
Ready. Great.
Okay, here you go. So here's well, first of all, I'm going to tell you what not to do. I think it's always good to know what not to do. We'll start with that. So here's the thing. And I know everybody can't raise their hand, but I'm sure they are listening. The question of, so what do you do? Nobody likes that question. We all right? You know, you kind of get that sick feeling in your stomach when they say you feel like you're auditioning, right? And then not only that, but then everybody goes into sales, right? Here's the thing. Who cares? So what do you do? I'm going to tell you, never say it again. I'm going to give you so many better alternatives to that. If my hope is that everybody just from now on just cuts that out of their conversational piece here. I'm going to give you better questions to ask. So here we go. So instead of that, here's the question I usually ask first. And I'm going to tell you why and what it is too, because I think that we remember things better if we know why to do it, right? So it's like, what's the strategy? So the first question is this: who do you serve? So if I say to you, Lynn, who do you serve? It's not even about you. Now it's about who you serve. Who is your audience, right? Who do you serve? 3 things will come out of that question. The first thing is that you'll look at me and you won't know. And if somebody looks at you and they don't even know who they serve, well, I have to tell you, that tells you something right there. You probably don't even need to know anything else. If they don't even know who they serve, right there, that says something right there, right?
It does.
Okay. Second is they tell you, and they start saying, oh, well, here's who I serve. And they start telling you, and here's what you should be listening for. Do you serve any of them too? Is there an opportunity there? How many of them do you serve? So if they say, oh, I serve realtors, or I serve this, or I serve that, and you serve them too, that changes the whole dynamic of your conversation moving forward. Like, you have some place to go. But here's the thing. Say they tell you 5 people they serve, and you serve 3 of those. The question you need to ask yourself is, those other 2 that they said, should I be serving them? Is there an opportunity for me to serve them that I just hadn't thought of? So that's one of the things you can think. That's an opportunity. And lastly, if they tell you who they serve and you just happen to not serve any of them, then you need to ask yourself, well, who in my network does? Is there an introduction I can make here? Can I serve the person that I'm talking to and somebody else in my network by doing a powerful introduction to them? And or is there somebody in my network who's asked for a referral to what they do? So out of that one question, you should be able to know, should I spend time? Is there some opportunity for collaboration there? Do I serve them? Are they a partner for me? Because the best strategic partner, obviously, is somebody who serves your target audience, but in a different way. And if not, is there an introduction that I can do or a referral I can give? One question, and you got all of the one question, which is a much better question than, so what do you do, right?
It is.
So that's the first question. The second question that I always like to ask is, I know lots of people, Lynn. If I was going to tell my audience about you, what would you want me to tell them? Now, here's an important reason why you ask that question. Because a lot of times when people meet you, we kind of fill in with fluff. We start talking about our pets, kids, and all this kind of stuff. And not that I don't think that's not important. If we're going to continue to build a relationship, I do want to know that. But if I'm never going to see you again when we step out of this room, it's really not important. What I need to know, what I'm doing is gathering information to know whether or not we are going to stay in touch, and if you are somebody that I need to stay in contact with. So when I ask you the question, what should I tell someone about you? If I'm going to tell my whole tribe about you, you're going to tell me the stuff. You're going to tell me the value that you bring. right? You're going to give me your best stuff. So now if I know who you serve and I know the value you bring, I pretty much know an awful lot. And I only asked you 2 questions, right?
Yes.
And
so
before you
go on, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
This is where a lot of people actually don't know how to tell you what it is about them that is the value that they bring to the world. Do you have a method of like honing into that?
Absolutely.
It's
like, I do.
I knew it.
Here's what I do. So I call it the phrase that pays. And basically what it means, the phrase that pays. And basically what that means is what differentiates you from someone else that does what you do. What's your awesome sauce? What's your superpower, so to speak, right? And here's an example. People always like, oh, Patty, will you give us an example? So I always try to give a nice, easy example that everybody gets. So I know that probably everybody listening to this show knows at least one realtor, if not 10, right? Everybody knows at least one realtor, right? So one time I was having this conversation with a realtor, and she says to me, Patty, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Could you help me? I don't know what my phrase that pays is. I said, well, let's kind of talk about it. Tell me a little bit about you. And I found out that before she became a realtor, she worked for a builder. And when she worked for the builder, what she did there was she knew every single thing a builder could negotiate on and what they could not negotiate on. Now, let me ask you this. If you were going to buy a brand new house, would you want a realtor who could tell you what they could negotiate on and what they couldn't? Absolutely. Yeah. So that was her differentiator. Now, I have to tell you, that happened about 5 years ago. And in this 5 years, I think the last time I've given her about 72 referrals. Because every time I know anybody who tells me they're buying a new house, that's the first thing I ask them. Do you have a realtor? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say no. And they'll say, why? And I'll say, oh, well, I know a realtor who's really good, and she used to work for a builder, and she worked in the negotiation department. She knows everything they can negotiate on and everything they can't. I have never not had somebody say, can I have her name? Because now that is her secret sauce. So the question I always like to ask someone is, if you don't already know, here's what your takeaway should be. Focusing on that. Start thinking about it. When you ask somebody these questions, they're going to turn it around and they're going to go, oh, well, tell me about you. What's yours? And if they do, you want to have your answer ready, right? So this is where you should hone it. Talk in front of the mirror, do whatever you have to do to hone this skill. But you want to be able to tell them, here is what my differentiator is. Now, I'm going to tell you, lots of times I teach this in a class, and we break this down, and I teach this all the time. And one of the things I noticed is 80% of the room have the same answer for me. And here's their answer. Their answer is give really good customer service. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Giving good customer service is not a differentiator. You should be giving exceptional customer service, and that should be the norm. Nobody should not be giving exceptional customer service. That is not a differentiator, right? Think about what you do differently. Do you deliver? Do you custom order? Are there some special things that you do that somebody else doesn't do? What is your differentiator? And if you don't have one, start looking at your competitors and say, well, what do they do? And what skill set do I have that I could add on, that could be a value add that I could do that does make me a little bit different? So you should know the answer to that. And here's the third thing. And this is usually the last question I ask. And here's going to be the biggest takeaway. Now, I want you to picture, I know I can't see everybody, but picture your business card in your mind. So kind of get a visual of your business card. So here's what you do. Here's my signature tip is this. When you're looking at that business card, think to yourself that the top right corner, now this is for me. Now it might be different for you, but I'm just going to do the example. I'm going to model it for you. So for me, the top right corner is Twitter. The bottom left corner is Facebook. The left bottom corner is LinkedIn, and the top is Google+. Now for you, it could be Instagram, Pinterest, whatever it is, whatever platform you're on. You just need to know what the corners stand for. Okay, so the last question that I ask to somebody, it's always about call to action, right? Everything you do should be about a call to action. So here's what I'm going to tell you. The last question I would say to somebody is, so Lynn, I really enjoyed our conversation. So I just have one more question for you. My question is, what is your favorite social media platform? Where do you hang out? And you may say Twitter, Facebook, whatever you say. And what I'm going to do is when you walk away, I'm going to bend the corner on your business card that you gave me of whatever you said. So now when I go home and I have that stack of business cards, my call to action is very clear. All I need to do is connect with you where you told me you hang out. It doesn't do any good to hang out on Facebook and they all hang out on Twitter or they hang out on LinkedIn. You're not going to connect. You don't need to connect with everybody on every single social media platform. What's the platform you need to connect with them on? Where they hang out. Kind of like your audience. Where should I be? You should be where your audience is, right? So just say you have a stack of business cards, and I know that there's probably a lot of people listening that do have a stack of business cards. If you could pick up that stack right now and just look at bent corners and know where to connect with them, would that make your life easier? And it would make your follow-up easier too, right?
Yeah, that is very cool. I love that. That's a new one for me. Hadn't heard anybody talk about that, to the extent that it's something that you can do. It's a very covert action, but it actually does something from an NLP standpoint. That action actually imprints on you that connection to that person. So even if you get home, say you've actually taken the time in the car to put their information in your phone that links to your database, you now know exactly for that person where to connect with them. Great advice. Love that.
Takeaway tip. So I just think it really makes a lot of sense. So now, you've asked them who they serve. So serve, the value they bring, right? If you're doing any introductions and where they hang out. If that whole process that I just explained, it actually takes less time to do it than to explain it. You can do all of that in less than 5 minutes. So if you're in a room with, it doesn't matter how many people, if you can ask that question, you automatically know what to do. So I feel like if I walk out of a room with 5 people that I've had that good conversation with, it's been a great night, right? But you need to know what to do next, so that way you're not going, oh my gosh, I need to contact 100 people and I need to do this and I have to work the room and all that kind of stuff. You know where you should have your conversations and where you need to move on. It's very easy.
It makes every conversation valuable. The biggest thing about networking groups is what you said. I need to make 100 connections. I need to introduce myself to 8 people. I need to I need to do these things. And then you're at the tail end of things and you say, well, none of these people fit for what it is that I'm doing. But you've eliminated so much in not having the ability to see. I can make an additional connection. I can still connect with them, because bottom line is you got to think beyond the now and think, there may be future opportunity if there isn't one right now. So
if you know who they serve, then you also know, like, even if they're not the right person, where are they going to lead? And the other thing for that is when you're following up, it makes your follow-up so much easier as well. And when you're thinking, oh, wow, this person looks really great, and you go to where they hang out, looking at their news feed on their social media will tell you a lot too, because you don't want to always burn the bridge. Sometimes you're going to talk to somebody and you really only got to talk to them for a short period of time. And here's the thing. I know old school. I've been in the networking world for a long time. There's a reason I'm called the networking CEO. Old school, everything was, oh, magic happens when you go have coffee, right? Whether it's at a coffee shop, now we do it virtually. But here's the thing. You can also shoot yourself in the foot if you go and meet somebody and it's too soon. I mean, how many times have you ever gone and met somebody and then an hour and a half later you thought to yourself, well, that was an hour and a half of my life I'm never going to get back, right? But if you do your due diligence first and you've asked the right questions, you already know you serve some of the same people. You already know the value they bring. You already know where they hang out, and you've checked their Facebook page or case may be. You already know some of those things already, and then you'll know when it's time. Because sometimes, you can just connect with them on social media. You don't go have coffee with them. You just kind of connect and be Facebook friends, whatever the case may be. 3 months later, they may say something on Facebook and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the opportunity where we could work together. And if you've already gone and had lunch and walked out and thought, well, I don't really know, it's kind of hard to go back and say, oh, well, now you said something that works for me, right? So sometimes jumping the gun a little too soon, really what you want to do is you want to ask the right questions and wait for the people to raise their hand and say, you know, I'm here. And it just makes it so much, it's working smarter instead of harder and finding the right people. That's really what I do, because it's my tagline actually, but it's all about connection, collaboration, and conversion. Right now, the hot thing obviously is connecting. We all have that. And a lot of times people understand about collaboration, but they always drop the ball on conversion. They don't know how to convert. That's kind of where leveraging your list is, right? Because you have to be able to convert.
It is. And, you know, it's a lot of that is in the follow-up, or at least begins with the follow-up. It's
fortunes in the follow-up, for sure.
Exactly.
Fortunes in the follow-up.
But it's the planting the seed. A lot of times people think I'm planting seeds and things are going to happen, but you don't convert when you plant the seed. It takes that time. You don't reap the harvest immediately after planting the seed. And the follow-up is that time period, is that harvest period, or is that nurturing and growth period. Tell us a little bit about some of the follow-up techniques you may offer people.
So here's the first thing. I know a lot of times people have said to me, some of my clients, whether they're in group programs, one-on-one, whatever the case may be, a very popular question I get is, well, you know what, Patty, I make appointments with people, they don't always, you know, they don't show, they cancel at the last minute, you know, when I book that time for them and stuff. And the reason for that is because they didn't see the value yet, right? Because you jumped the gun too soon. They didn't see you. I'm going to tell you my percentage of people who don't show up for a meeting with me, unless it's something happens to their children, you know, like real medical, real things, right? You know, for me is like 99.7%. Here's why, because I have a really good follow-up system. And my follow-up system is that students would like the script. I have no problem sharing this. So just reach out to me on social media and say, Patty, I'd love that script, and I'll give it to you. So here's what I say. So it's all in the confirmation. So say we had a talk and we said, oh, we're going to meet for coffee on Friday. Okay. Now, whether that's virtual or in person, doesn't matter. What I would do is I would send you an email and I would say, Lynn, I'd really like to confirm our appointment for Friday at 2 o'clock. Now, I have a couple questions I'd like to ask you so that I can better serve you. And here's what I'd love for you to do. When you send me that email back confirming for us, what I'd love to do is if you would share with me who your ideal client is. Describe that person. Who would be a great connection for you? And if you could send that to me, now here's the punchline. You ready? Here's where the gold is. If you could send that to me this way, I would have an opportunity to look through my database. And if I know any of them, I could bring them with me when I come.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because now they're not going to show up. You might be coming with people that you're going to a referral, an introduction with you. Now, here's what I'm going to say. People have asked me this too. It's kind of funny. I've had all the answers. Here's what happens. They may send that back to you, and they should say, which should tell you something if they don't, right? All about, you know, they should write back to you and they say, oh, and they should give you that information. And they should say, well, Patty, you know, tell me that about you too. I'd like to know that as well. Right? So now when you show up, you certainly have something to talk about. Now, here's the thing. There will be times, if you've done your work up front, it shouldn't happen often, but there will be times, minimally, that you'll get there. And then when you have that conversation with them, everything was going great. And then you'll meet them and you're like, wow, I don't know if I really feel comfortable referring them to anybody. Like something will be not the right vibe or something. Here's the thing. You haven't given them the names yet. And you haven't even told them that you had them, so they don't know whether you did or not. So if you get there and you don't feel comfortable, then just don't give them to them. They didn't know if you were going to or not, right? So it's not like, oh my gosh, what if I do and I get there and I find out? That's what you do at the end of the conversation, right? And you say, oh, I went through my database and here's what I have for you. right? And that's where you know what's the next step for us to do. And there has been very few times, but there has been a couple times where somebody has said something, and it wasn't that I ever felt like, oh no, because I do really good due diligence up front. But there have been times where I thought I want to know a little bit more just to be on the safe side. And then I just went back and did, had to have another conversation with them before I felt comfortable. But I'm going to tell you, if people think that there's a chance that you went to your database first, they're going to show up. Because here's what usually happens. You go and have a meeting, you're there for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the case may be. And then when it's time to wind up, you don't really know what to say. So here's what people usually say. You know what, it's been really great to get to know you, Lynn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that you told me, and I'm going to go back and look at my database. And if I know anybody, I'll get back with you. And here's what happens. Then you're left hanging and you're like, what do you do? Are you supposed to call them back and say, hey, did you go through? Were there anybody? Like if they don't, are you going to think, oh, well, I guess they didn't know anybody. They didn't like me. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of, you leave it on a negative, right?
Yeah.
And you leave it on a, like, you don't know what to do and you have no control. In this case, you took care of all that up front. So they're going to show up. You already know you have something to talk about, and you're going to bring your best stuff because you're going to want them to do it. So nobody's going to get there and start chatting about nothing. And I have to tell you, building relationships is very, very important. And I know I'm doing a lot of quotes, but one of my other quotes, I know I'm quoting myself, don't you love it? But here's one of the things that I believe.
You've got some great quotes.
Okay. So the only difference between a contact and a contract is an R. And that R stands for relationships. Contact, contract. Only difference is an R. But here's the thing. You have to build a relationship. But if there's only so much time. You only have so much time. You have to have something that makes you want to have the relationship, right? You have to have a common, audience, common something, right? You're, like you have a common collaboration, there's a project, something, right? We don't have time to just talk to everybody, right? I'd like to think I did. One time I went to an event and 161 people asked me to go have coffee. And that's when I realized I needed some criteria, because I don't have enough time in my day to have coffee with 161 people. Right? You have to have a criteria. So these things that I've just told you, this is your criteria. You will know when you should be having coffee or lunch or whatever the case may be, and you have something to work with when you get there. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And I love that quote. The only difference between a contact and a contract is an R, relationship. It is. It's key. Relationship is the key to building business that's not only sustainable, but it's able to
leverage.
Grow.
It's leverage. Yeah. That's how you leverage it, because when you are building your list, whether it's socially or not, or your email list, that is capital. That's social capital. That's what that is. That's social capital. And you need to think about that, where you spend your time. It's kind of like, in today's business environment, the currency is relationships. That's the currency. And the question I always want to ask is, if that's the currency, how fat's your wallet, right? How fat is your wallet? If the currency is relationships, how fat is your wallet? Are you working to have an engaged community? And that's really where it's at. And that's how you're going to leverage. So you're going to leverage your list. You're going to leverage influence. All of those things are very important. Now, I know we're going to really talk about list building right now, which is like my favorite subject in the world. But here's the thing. One of the things I want people to know about is it's so much easier to get on social media. Now, as a marketing strategist, I teach social media strategy, right? That's one tool. List building is a tool. Packaging is a tool. Positioning. All of those things are very, very important. Social media is a very important tool, but getting on social media all day and thinking that you are making money isn't working. And here's the thing you need to know. At any given time, Facebook could close down your account. Google could change their algorithm anytime they want. Twitter could shut you down. You own your email list. You do not own your Facebook community. I don't care if you have 5,000 people in a group. You don't own that. Any given time, Facebook can shut you down. The only thing you own is your email list. Sooner you do that, the most important thing is, so here's what I always love to tell people. Just imagine if you closed your eyes and you imagined that if you had every single one of your followers on your email list, every person that's in a circle on Google Plus, everybody who's following you on Twitter, everybody that you're connected to on Facebook, all your connections on LinkedIn, if all of those people were on your email list, would that change your bottom line in your business?
Yes. Yes.
I think for most people it would.
For somebody that's got, I don't know how many on Facebook, 2,000 or so, and 20,000 plus on Google Plus, and 1,500 or so on LinkedIn. Yes. To have those in your email list, those numbers in your email list, you definitely got something going for yourself.
Right. So you have to have some type of way that people want more than just what's on social media. So you need to take your online community and move it offline, and you need your offline community to be online. So that's what you need to do to be able to leverage that, to really be able to leverage that, leverage your community. When you do collaboration, there's a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways to grow your list. And, I could just name off a few. It's, a lot of people see those collaboration books, anthologies. Well, when you do an anthology, you only have to write, 1,000 words, and you're in there, and now you're an author. But the other authors that are in there with you, they should be on your radio show. They should be doing some type of collaboration with you. You have something together, like whether it's a digital magazine, or maybe it's a radio show or a podcast, all of these things. But what are you doing to get them on your email list? That is what you need to ask. And a lot of it is having the correct call to action. And a lot of times people have all these things. You just one thing. You need somebody to have a call to action that's yes, no. They're going to opt in, yes, no. If you send, sometimes when you send them to your website, we all know it's all about our website is our hub, and it is. But from social media, you need something clear and concise. Yes, no. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. That's just the first step, getting them on your email list. Here's the bigger thing. The bigger way to leverage is how are you going to get them to stay? A lot of times when you give a freebie, you're on a teleseminar and you give a freebie and you get people to opt in to get the free gift. But are they going to stay, or do they just unsubscribe the next week? There's always a drop off because they don't see the value. You need relevant value. So first of all, always make sure you're in front of the right audience. That's the first thing. But then you need to have what I like to call a stick strategy. Why should they stick around? You need to do something for them that makes them want to stick so they don't unsubscribe. And there's several ways to do it. Like you could offer, like here's some of the ways I do it. One is the people that are on my email list, I give them things that nobody else gets, exclusive content only to them. They are my list, and I take care of them. I give them exclusive stuff that only they get, and they don't have to opt in again for it. This is it. You're my tribe, and I'm going to serve you by giving you things. They also get discounts on anything that I have that's existing for them. So they always get to have that information. I'm always giving them opportunities for that. I always serve them by letting them know that if they're interested in what I have, what else would they need? So say, for example, I'm a marketing strategist. I don't do web design. I don't do graphic design. Those are not things that I do, but those are great collaborative partners for me. But on all of my newsletters that go out, I have a little box on there that says, here's some other people you might need. Here's some resources you might need to have. And I have to tell you, when I look at my numbers, some of the click-throughs I have are other things that I give them. I put other events that are there, or not just the events that I'm at, but other events that might serve them, that people that I know are going to be at. Maybe I'm speaking at it, maybe I'm not, but if it serves my audience, and this is what they tell me, you know what, Patty, I don't have to go look for anything. Anything I need, you're going to have the link to, and it's just one place that I have to go. And that's what you want to do. How can you serve your audience? I think it's very, very important to make sure you're giving them value. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And it is truly also leveraging those relationships that you've made with your collaborators. And it brings value to them. They're bringing value to you with serving your clients to their highest level. I love it. It's a great strategy.
Here's another strategy that I think that really people can do. It seems like it'll be hard to set up, but it really isn't, and it makes my life so easy. I love that we have draft in our email, right? That we can create drafts, and all these I do are drafts. So copy paste for me. But I have an Excel spreadsheet. Now, remember, everybody has to think about who those people are in their business. You know, if you were a realtor, mortgage people, insurance people, credit repair, you know, who are your people? So I have a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet, I have people who, you know, what kind of content do they provide? You know, are they a graphic design person? Are they a web designer? Are they whatever the case may be? And whenever I find somebody, I love their blogs, they have great content, you know, I really think they'd be a great connection. I put them in this Excel spreadsheet. So here's what happens. So their names are there, and I always put their Twitter name wherever I'm actually doing this at, LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. So every time I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I'll just use that example. I have over 15,000 first tier connections on LinkedIn. And here's how I serve them. When I connect with somebody, first thing I do, here's the thing, people connect to people and they never go back to them. Like that with a number, like they never welcome them, or else they send them a direct message trying to sell them. That's crazy, right? You haven't built a relationship with them yet, right? It's called social selling because you got to put the social back in sales, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. So on LinkedIn, using my example, whenever I connect with somebody, I send them a welcoming email, a welcoming message, and I welcome them. And I just say, you know, thank you so much for connecting. I'd like to learn more about you and your business and how I can most strictly serve you based on your profile. In other words, I didn't connect with them without looking at their profile, right? And I only connect with people who I feel like I can do business with or I can collaborate with. I don't connect to everybody. So here's the thing. Of those people, I will say, based on your profile, here's 5 people that you should connect with next. And what I do is I pull up my spreadsheet and I say, here's what they do. Who do they need to know? And then I copy and paste 5 people in there and I say, here's who you should connect with next. And so I'm always serving them right from the get-go. I serve them. And here's what happens. People write me back and they're like, thank you so much, Patty. Those were great connections. I don't just randomly pick people. I strategically pick people that I know can help them. If they're a this, they need to meet this, right? So I don't just randomly pick names. These are people that I feel comfortable that they are a good connection. Here's what else happens though. People will write back to me and they'll say, you know, Patty, I love that you told me those 5 people to connect. How do I become one of those people that you're telling other people that they should connect with me? Right? Isn't that what you want? How do I get on that list? And I say, these are people that I have built a relationship with. And guess what? They want to build a relationship with me. So what value are you bringing? People know when you're connected to me, you have access to my global Rolodex. I'm going to serve you. I'm not just going to be a number. I'm not a follow. I'm not just a connection. I'm somebody who truly cares and wants to work with you on your business, or I'm not going to connect with you. Does that make sense? So what can you do? Show your secret sauce again. Be of value. People will want to be on your newsletter. They'll want to collaborate with you because you bring value and relevant value.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. So, you know, we know that out in the marketplace, there are times when people just say openly, connect with me, let's see what's going on. And then there are some, terms of etiquette, I'll put it that way.
Oh, for sure.
Where your connections require you to either get their permission to connect them to somebody else, or there's permission involved in some way, shape, or form. Talk to us a little bit about what
thank you.
Permission space is.
Yeah. So first of all, when you exchange business cards with somebody, it is not implied consent that it's okay for you to add them to your email list. It is not. You have to ask for permission. You have to have permission. So it is not implied consent. A lot of people think that. But the thing is, when you are connecting with somebody, there is etiquette. For example, sometimes I just think to myself, wow, people, they just don't think sometimes. Because here's what I'm going to say. What will happen, here's like my biggest pet peeve of bad social media etiquette. is when people will, what I call, hijack your thread. In other words, you had a reason, you posted something, and then they see, oh, wow, you know, and they either start connecting to everybody on there, or they start, not that there's anything wrong with connecting, but, or they'll talking about something and they'll just kind of hijack that thread. That is such bad etiquette. And the short term that they think they're getting out of it, long term will not help them. First of all, if somebody does that on my wall, that's an unfriend right there. But what I will tell you is it doesn't even make sense, because if there is somebody that comes on my thread and they answer and we're having a conversation about something, and you're, you know, kind of on the conversation, you're thinking, wow, I really need to know that person. That person would be great. Yes, you could just go ahead and friend them. Go for it. No problem. But wouldn't it be better if you really think that they would be a good connection for you to send me a message and say, you know what, Patty, I'm on this thread and this girl sounds like somebody I really need to meet. Would you be willing to do an introduction? Now, you could go ahead and friend them if you want, and I'm sure they'll connect with you. But I'm going to tell you, we can speed it up, shorten the curve. If you just ask me to do an introduction, I'd be more than happy to do an introduction. Not only that, but when you do an introduction for somebody, there's a couple of key elements that really make it powerful. The first one is tell them why you're doing the connection. Have you ever had somebody connect you to something and say, oh, Patty, you need to know such and such, and then they want to connect with you and you have no idea why? So like you're left hanging, like you're like, okay, fill me in, right? Obviously, they had a reason. What is it? Share it. You know, say, you know, oh, Patty, you know, you were saying just the other day that you were looking for, or we were talking about this, and I think this person would be great. Give us something so that the second thing is
Hang on one second for me, Patty. You froze there for a minute, so we didn't catch that last part. You said share the reason, and then something
why you feel we have synergy. What's the reason you feel we have synergy together? I think that's really important. That was key, so I'm glad you had me restate that. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you share with us our contact information. You know, a lot of times if you email an introduction, you just have my name up there, but it doesn't actually tell you anybody else what my email is, right? Because you have it displayed as just my name. Make sure when you do the introduction that you give us our contact information for each of us. And the reason for is everybody has a communication preference. Some people like text, some people like emails, the phone, whatever. So make sure that you give us their contact information so that we can contact people in their preferred method of communication, right? And so I think that's really important. So if you do that, so when I do an introduction, I always introduce them. I tell them about the person. I give them an endorsement. You know, here's what they are. And I give them an endorsement. I say, here's the synergy of why I'm doing the introduction, and here's the contact information. And then I just end it with, I can't wait to see the synergy and what the opportunities that come out of this connection. And then I bow out. I've done my job now. That's all I'm involved. What happens after that's none of my business, really. And so for me, I have that written so whenever I do introductions, copy and paste, all I have to do is add the part about them. It's very, very simple. You don't have to make it very hard. I do introductions every single day. My goal is to do 5 a day. That's my goal, to do 5 introductions every single day. It's just a personal goal for me. I always want to make sure that I'm of service.
I think that's a huge goal. And I think that there are so many of us, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, even multiplepreneurs, that get so wrapped up in the busyness of thinking that it's work, yet to know the value of the relationships that you can build and the relationships that you can support happens through communication. It's so key. Thank you for sharing that. I love that strategy. And so I'm looking at the time, Patty, what else would you like for us to know? Because I know that you've brought something special to our audience today, and I want to make sure that our audience knows how to connect with you, how to, let you know that they, because of the BIZ Info Zone Show, saw you and saw the great value that you brought to us today. And you'd indicated that there was something that you'd love for them to have.
Sure. So it's the end of the year, right? And it's the holiday season, so it's gift giving season. But here's the thing. I think it's really important at the end of the year to know where you're going next year. So, everybody's talking about goals, and I think that's important too. Although personally, if you're starting your 2016 goals in the middle of December, your first quarter is already going to struggle. You should have already done that in September and October. But what I am going to tell you here is this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this assessment. And basically, it takes 4 minutes. It's really simple. And basically what it does is going to look at all the key areas of your business: social media, list building, sales, networking, all these areas. You get to just answer, just number, how do you rate yourself? It's really easy. But what's going to happen is when we receive that, it's going to tell you where your strengths are. So you're going to know going into the new year, what are my strengths? I'm really good at this. And where do I need a little bit of help? So they're going to be able to go to that 4 minutes. And then it's going to give you the opportunity, if you choose, at the end, to a strategy to get the gift, just so you know. But if you do, what I would like to do is to be able to look at that and then offer you a strategy session where we will laser in on one thing that we see that you need help. So when you get off that call, you're going to have something to put into place right now for the new year. So we're not just going to talk about everything. We're actually going to laser in on something that you can implement and apply right now. So to be able to get that, I think we actually put it underneath my name there, but it's the not the number, the word 6, S-I-X, 6-figure biz quiz, B-I-Z-Q-U-I-Z. So 6-figure biz quiz. You'll get to just take that 4 minutes, very quick. And then if you choose to want to have the strategy session, let's just laser in on get your new year started with a really good strategy place today.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I love assessments that help people to see into themselves and the work that they're doing. And this is perfect for this time of year to actually see where you are and what your strengths are, where you need help. It's a key tool. I will make sure that it's posted in the comment section and in the write-up there. It is 6, S-I-X, figure biz, B-I-Z, quiz.com, because for some reason your lower third disappeared on us.
Really?
Oh. Did.
Okay, 6-figure biz quiz.
I didn't even realize it, or I would have let you know sooner, but 6figurebizquiz.com. And I, again, will make sure that it's out in the comment section so that everyone will see it. And Patty, thank you so much. I just have one final question for you, because we were talking, everything that you can do. I can see how your doing good in the world happens. And tell us one thing that you want our audience to take away from today that is a key point that kind of ties all of this in for today.
I would say the number one key point is to get out there and do it. Take the first step to do it, and just make sure that you're connecting and that you follow up with the connection and really know who your target audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, you could just be out there swimming tide, right? You really want to narrow down and know your audiences. If you're not clear on that, you're going to struggle. So make sure you get really, really clear on that, and I can help them with that if they need that.
Beautiful. Well, Patty, again, thank you. To our audience, I want to thank you for being here today. We've been here with guest Patty Farmer, the networking CEO, and just someone who has brought us the strategies around leveraging your list, building your list, leveraging it, and the message: connect, follow up, tap into your niche, and if you don't know it, take a step back so that you can grab that. That's where your list and your bank account are connected, right there with your niche.
Right.
And Patty Farmer has given us some amazing strategies to move into 2016 with that could potentially change everything in your business. So thank you again, Patty. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Just totally enjoyed this conversation and all of the information that you brought. Thank you so much. Thank you to our audience. Remember, you have been in the zone, the BIZ Info Zone, on the BIZ Info Zone Show. And we look forward to seeing you again right here next week. Same station, same time, and same amazing opportunities for you to express your purpose, plan your next moves, implement, take that inspired action that Patty just talked about, and take your business into more profits so that 2016 really shows you're in the green. So thanks again. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.